Hey guys, welcome back. If you didn't see, this morning USBC, the United States Bowling Congress, put out an announcement on their website, and this announcement was a follow-up to the poll they put out a while ago, talking about whether to ban urethane or not. I made a video about it, but since the mic quality was so bad, I'll just go over my thoughts a little bit here before I get into this. I basically said that I was not a fan of this urethane ban, and even to this day I think that it's a bad idea to ban it entirely, which, thank God they didn't, but I'll get into that in a little bit. I basically said that banning urethane could lead to banning other stuff, and, well, that could happen, but theoretically it's not going to with the way that they've set this up. But what did they actually announce? Let's get into it. But before we do that, I'm gonna have to ask you to subscribe real quick. It only takes a second. Alright, back to the video. Well, to start things off, they decided to kind of ban urethane altogether, but also not ban it in a way. It's really confusing, and a lot of people, including myself, are not a big fan of this change. If they wanted to standardize 78D hardness, they should have just outright said so. But as I just said, basically what they did is they made it so that 78D hardness would be the new standard. But not exactly. You see, they banned them at the national level, which affects basically no one unless you're bowling Junior Gold, the Masters, the US Open, etc., etc. Those national tournaments, those huge tournaments, those are the ones that matter. Those are the ones that everyone watches. I think with the way that they've set this up, they're setting us all up to just take away urethane completely in a few years. Of course, they couldn't do it now because they wanted to test the waters and see what would happen, but by restricting urethane balls from national events, the ones that matter, they're kind of taking away from the sport in a way. Yes, urethane balls destroy flat patterns. That's what they're meant to do after all. But what do they do to a house shot? Effectively, nothing good. On those higher ratios, it gives other people a chance. Sometimes those higher ratios can be easy, but sometimes they can also be really hard. A lot of long high to mid ratio patterns, they allow for a lot of hook and a lot of loft later in the sessions. And lots of times, urethane just can't be played in these environments because there's just no way to make up the score from the carry lost when people are able to loft the ball and score maybe 20% more. Those flat 7s and flat 10s, those add up. Those make the difference in a tournament. If you miss an occasional 7 pin, that could be the chance between making the cut and not. And that's what happens with urethane. If you don't get the strike, there's a chance you miss the cut. So, after all, you have to adapt to urethane. It's kind of like having a different type of oil pattern. You get to make your own on the lane, and that's how bowling should be played in my opinion. However, what they've done here is they've just limited 78D hardness on a national scale, while simultaneously allowing it for a lot of the women's events and the senior events. And another weird thing that they're doing is they're making urethane 78D at Junior Gold. But not just that, they're banning it from match play onward. And at some level this makes sense because these are the events that people start to watch. After all, when you see it on TV and all you see is a purple hammer, that kind of shows how much they're leaning on it. But by keeping it to 78D and not banning it entirely or not keeping it open, they are just creating a new standard for the same complaints. Most of the time, the people complaining about urethane aren't the ones throwing it, and they aren't the ones that understand it, which is why they complain. These are the type of bowlers to get mad when a house pattern is changed at their local bowling alley and they can't score as high, or something happens with the approach and they go quickly to blame the approach before blaming their own game and blaming how they function. Of course, this is a little bit different because urethane is down the lane down 50-something feet, where the carry down is occurring, whereas you're dealing with physical factors that you can adjust to and you can make a physical change. Of course, the move off of urethane is just moving in with reactive, which is what a lot of people are going to end up doing at Junior Gold when this happens. However, this is not the biggest issue that I and many other people have with this announcement. You see, instead of keeping things consistent, making it a level 78D like we all thought was going to happen when we saw that poll come out, USBC decided to go out on a limb and make the weird decision to not change the team trials, collegiate sectional and regular events, Junior Gold qualifiers, as in the path to making it there, and many other USBC Youth Scratch Championships. And it's not even changed for the Survivor Tournament at Junior Gold either, so make a decision. What are we going with? These decisions aren't just poor, they're just bad for the sport. It shows how little they actually care about the sport that they're governing. And another point that I saw on a Facebook post from Belmonte is that they turned off the comments on their post. Why are you making a change for the top 1% that just makes things less consistent than it already was? We had that PBA ruling that came in because they wanted to see new bowling balls on TV, and when people adapted, they created a new standard. A new standard which, instead of being enforced as, a standard, is not being enforced quite at all, and instead is being super inconsistent in being placed on specific events rather than overall as a blanket statement. It would be so easy for the USBC to have just said, you know what, no urethane, or you know what, we're gonna do random spot checks, we're gonna make sure everything is 78D overall. They are gonna do spot tests with the durometer, which is not the best way to measure hardness. Many people have pointed this out in the past, and I just don't think it's a good idea to be using 78D as a standard. But if you are going to use it as a standard, why not use it, as a standard? Make things consistent, and make it better for everyone, or worse for everyone. You don't have to change it overall. I don't think I know a single person who is happy about urethane being banned. A lot of regional and national tour pros throw urethane and do not care about whether it's banned or not. Even the ones who are affected more, which is usually low-rev lefties or righties. If you want to see some real change in the bowling community, change the way that surface works. Make it so you can't put 360 or 500 on a bowling ball. It just seems like this governing body that we have is just going further and further the wrong way. A lot of people have some hard feelings about string pins, and I plan to make a video on them at some point soon. But first we had string pins, which I'm not going to state my opinion here because I'll state it in another video. It's going to be a big rant. It's going to be like 15 minutes long. But anyways, I don't think that doing these changes is going to set a new standard. It's just going to confuse people more. They can't take valid criticism, and they can't do scientific research on what changes. They can't put out a poll properly. Luke Rosedale made this whole video as a previous data scientist or something like that. Like his previous profession was putting out polls or something where he talked about just how bad putting out this poll in this way was. It was done poorly. It was done awfully. But to then take those results, instead of redoing the test a few weeks later with different criteria, they decide to go out on a limb, make a blanket statement that only affects a few people, but confuses a whole bunch of others who think urethane got banned, but doesn't. And furthermore, a lot of people are going to have to buy new bowling balls. However, that goes without saying because we've heard this before. But to say banning all urethane under 78D when we just did a poll that said a lot of people didn't really favor changing it, and the ones that did only wanted the 78D hardness standard, it really seems like they just made that poll with an intention already in mind. I think a lot of people are going to want to see this rule be flipped and just outright eliminated, or at least see the poll redone properly with the right ideas. Again, I don't think a 78D hardness standard is a bad thing, as long as you have it standardized for everyone. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen at Junior Gold this year with these bans in mind, assuming that they stay, because a lot of people have immediately criticized this, and a lot of people are going to argue for this to be reversed. For one, the bowling ball brands, because they sell the bowling balls that people are using that just got banned. It would be really nice to get a refund on our bowling balls, because a lot of people have just bought urethane in the past month, year. I, for one, just bought a new purple hammer a few weeks ago, right before this controversy started in the first place. And now, I'm just a normal person. I wouldn't mind if my bowling ball was banned, as if it was done in a proper manner. I just think the governing body of the sport has gone further and further down the line. First string pins, now this whole urethane controversy. I'm done hearing about it. Just take some time, do some research, and make some decisions that are consistent and accurate to what the people want. Because putting out a poll, having the first answer choice being on there, being to ban it, it really creates that preconceived notion that they wanted to ban urethane before they put out this poll, but couldn't because they knew they would get backlash. Who knows if these poll results are even real? Because at this point, this is approaching conspiracy levels of discussion around urethane. But that's my thoughts on it. TLDR, if you didn't watch the rest of the video, here's what I'm gonna say. USBC has done a horrible job at releasing this. They should have standards, they should backtrack on some of the things they've said, and take another look at it, put out a new poll that is proper and done in a scientific manner rather than an unscientific manner. And lastly, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below, and leave a like and subscribe if you'd like to see more. But that's all I've got time for today, so I'll see you guys next time.